Hello, welcome to Pound for Pound, the new weekly boxing podcast with me, Jake Wood, and him,
Mr. Spencer Oliver.
Listen, I ain't going to ask you how you are, because I know you're doing all right.
I'm brilliant, mate.
I didn't ask you. Listen, we've got an amazing guest this week. We sent a tweet out, didn't we, a couple of days ago. Mr. Eddie Hearn.
Yes. Yep. We've been trying to get this one for ages, and we finally got him. He's a busy guy, and I'm just really looking forward to this interview, if I'm honest. See what's going on in the world of boxing, find out a little bit about Eddie himself. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, there's loads of questions, isn't there? I personally want to know what's going on. AJ Wilder, heavyweight division is so exciting, isn't it, at the moment? Also got Amir Khan next weekend. Lots to talk about. Yeah,
the heavyweight division at the moment. There's a problem that I want to know, which I've not been able to get to the bottom of, with Dillian Whyte, who's had a great win last time out against Joseph Parker. He's WBC #1, holds a WBC silver belt. So he's mandatory challenger, yet he's not got to fight against Deontay Wilder, and that's really confusing me. And Wilder seems to be tied up doing other stuff.
Should be mandatory,
should be. So I'm going to ask Eddie about that, and hopefully he can give us some answers on that. So yeah, we're just really looking forward to this, and I don't think we should hold off any longer. I think we should give him a call, Jim.
Well, he's the main man, so let's get him on.
Eddie, how you doing, mate?
How we doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, really well, mate. You?
How are you, Eddie? Good?
Good. All good.
Listen, Eddie, thanks for coming on, mate. I know you're mad busy. Stable of loads of world champions at the moment, and a former one coming up on Saturday night, Amir Khan. You've done a promotional deal with him, right?
Yeah, this is the second. I think we've got 3 and could be extended to 4 and beyond. It's like the last little test, really, for Amir. I mean, the Greco was great, and Amir showed what we know he's got, he proved he's still got, which is speed and power and, a real electric ability to end fights early and bamboozle opponents. But it was Phil Le Greco, so we can't get too carried away. He's a decent fighter, but he's not really an elite fighter. So here we got someone top 10 in the world who's kind of in the middle of Le Greco and the Garcias and the Crawfords and the Pacquiaos and the Brooks of where he wants to be.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things is to test out his hands. He probably threw about 20 punches last time. And this time, I think he's going to do rounds, because I think in Vargas, you've got someone who's a little bit more serious than Le Greco, and someone that actually believes, as a lot of these opponents do, I've just got to hit Amir Khan on the chin and I can win the fight. But he will let his hands go, and I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Do you think he needs the rounds, Eddie?
He definitely needs the rounds. I think that one of the problems you've got is, and it's good for boxing, but fans are so impatient nowadays, and that's their job to be. So it's almost like, the Vargas fight's a really good fight, and he needs it, but everyone's like, when's Brook? When's Pacquiao? But you can't just go from 2 years out of the ring, 27 seconds, to a Pacquiao or Brook fight. So this is the last one, really, before he's in that, that crunch fight. And listen, this might be a crunch fight, because we don't know the truth. He looked fantastic against Phil Le Greco, but how much does he have left? We believe a lot, and I think we'll see at least quite a bit of that on Saturday night.
Yeah, if we get the rounds under his belt there, he gets a few rounds under his belt. I know we've been talking about the Kell Brook fight now for 3 or 4 years. Is that a fight that will possibly happen this year, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, I think depending on how he comes through on Saturday and how his hands hold up, I like December for that fight. But it's almost like that one's like, you get like a boyfriend and girlfriend that have been seeing each other since like primary school, and they're just bickering and bickering, and you're like, you get to a stage where they're like 15 and 16, you go, guys, like, either like move in together and make a crack at this, or just leave it, you know what I mean? Just leave each other alone.
It's one or the other, isn't it?
It is, and I just feel like they'd be mad not to do it. Mad not to do it. I mean, Kell's now come out and said, I will do 147 against Khan, which is definitely a disadvantage to him. But if he's got 15 weeks, he can do it. But I just still prefer to see him at 154. It's the biggest money fight out there for Khan and Brook by a long way. Yeah. So what's the excuse? The excuse is there other fights out there? Sometimes I think fighters or teams look at fights and say, I'll give you an example. It's a bit like Fury and Wilder, which I guess we'll come to later. But it's like, I do think a little bit of Fury says, if I lose, but lose all right, I can go and fight Josh after, AJ after. And I think with Khan, he thinks, well, I can fight Pacquiao, beat him, then fight Brook.
Yeah.
You know? But
Brook always seemed to be there, didn't he? Sort of like Brook was always...
He's always one that seems keen to get it on and
Yeah, but I think you're right, Eddie, as well. I think Brook was always there, wasn't he, for Khan? But it's like he had his eyes on bigger, sort of, bigger opponents.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, you get to a stage now where it's quite an interesting dynamic because obviously I've promoted Kel for 5 years plus, and we've always chased the Khan fight, and now I'm promoting Khan, right? So it's like, what's the excuse now? And now you're working on the inside. Both guys definitely want it. Like Amir thinks he beats Kell Brook, but there is also the management behind each fighter saying what else is out there, etc., etc. But if Khan can do the business on Saturday, I feel like just getting in the ring and just go, like, you got to do it. So it's up to you two, because I can't. Obviously the pressure is always on me to deliver, and it always seems like I'm pulling the strings and I decide who fights who. It doesn't work like that. I want that fight to happen. Kell will make 147. I think he'll take a smaller end of the deal to make it happen. But Amir, it's always been, Kell was the world champion, but Amir's had the bigger profile.
Yeah.
Now neither of them are world champions, but Amir is still the bigger name, internationally particularly, than Kell Brook. And I think Kell accepts that. But, they're just sort of reaching that stage in their career where it's like, guys, what do you want? Do you want to provide great fights for the British public? Yes. Do you want to earn a load of money? Yes. Okay. Now, I know you want to win world titles as well, but let's jump on this in a competitive market. Look at the amount of pay-per-views popping up. So we've got to make sure that our ones are the standout fights, whether that's, Joshua Povetkin, Joshua Wilder, Bellew Usyk, Khan Brook, Joshua Whyte. They've got to be super nice because they're coming at you thick and fast.
Yeah. Do you still see that as a stadium fight, Eddie?
I do. Yeah, I do. I mean, but you got to hurry up. You've got Cardiff potentially for December. Once you start waiting till spring, summer of next year, but people don't realise that actually comes around very quickly. But they can't see that. They think that's a lifetime away. Like I said, you go back to the demands of fans of any sport, which is, I want it now. I don't care what's on in 3 weeks' time, but I want it now. What's on Saturday? Can we do it this Saturday? So it's we're really under pressure to make sure that we don't keep things waiting for too long.
Yeah, sure. And September the 22nd, that's the big one. Everyone's been talking about AJ versus Povetkin. That is potentially a banana skin, isn't it?
The only thing that's sort of pissing me off about that fight is that it's only people that know their boxing that realise how tough a fight is.
That is a serious fight.
I read my social media and it's like, joke fight, another easy win for AJ. I'm like, you've got to understand, do your research, understand pedigree, and look at the fact that this is AJ's 22nd fight. He has fought Dillian Whyte, Dominic Brazil, Joseph Parker, Vladimir Klitschko, Carlos Takam, and Alexander Povetkin within 22 fights. And I've got to say, I read some people's comments, like, I'd say anyway, Lennox Lewis, for example, right, who's got a book out or he's got a night out or whatever he's got trying to...
Yeah, he's on a promotion trail, isn't he?
AJ's got to hurry up and fight Wilder. But I think in his 22nd fight, Lennox, I think he boxed Razor Ruddock for the Commonwealth title, which at the time was a huge step up. We've got to just step back. And I know that, again, fans want everything now, but just analyse what I just said and what he's achieved in 22 fights. I know you want Wilder. I know you want Fury. He'll go through everybody, but you've got to give him the recognition when he's fighting these mandatories. Povetkin, Ring Magazine, independent rating. Joshua Wilder, Povetkin, and who was number 3 a couple of months ago? Joseph Parker. Till Josh beat him. So he's fighting the very, very best. Of course, we'll want him to fight Wilder. I'm a boxing fan, but you've got to give him the props for Alexander Povetkin. This isn't the guys that he was beating. Eric Molina, that was a soft defence. That was his second defence of his world title, 5 fights ago. He's not fighting those guys anymore. And if it's not Wilder next, it'll be Dillian Whyte. That is a tough fight. You're talking about top heavyweight. Yeah,
I think Povetkin's his most dangerous test to date, if I'm honest. And like you say, I think only people in the boxing world really know the guy's pedigree and how tough he is and what he's got left still. I think he proved that when we saw him last time out against David Price. Yes, he got rocked in the 3rd round, but if David Price hit any heavyweight in the world, he would
my only worry with that is that he didn't knock Povetkin clean out, because that shot would have knocked 90% of heavyweights clean out.
Yeah, you can take a shot, Povetkin, can't he?
Exactly. It's a tough fight.
Was that a fight you wanted, Eddie? Would you, if you,
not really. No. Not really. I mean, I think that all these men, Dillian Whyte might be a WBO mandatory. You've got Hughie Fury and Pulev fighting a final eliminator for the IBF. It's so difficult to sort of maintain your status with all the governing bodies. And there's so many politics going around. But Povetkin's like, hasn't quite got the profile that his ability warrants. And that's never great for a promoter because really, people should be going, wow, this is like you said, Spence, it's a banana skin.
Yeah.
You've got a guy who's got a very good pedigree, technically very good, Olympic gold medalist in Povetkin, lost once on points to Klitschko. He's got like a team in World of Boxing, and I'm not saying that Putin's behind the team, but they're like sort of almost like government linked. They're fighting for Russia here. If they could become world heavyweight champion, this is massive for Russia. So they're coming.
He's coming to win, isn't he?
They're coming hard, So this is a massive opportunity. But I do think AJ will be too good and too fresh. And I think the one thing I do like about this fight, I think it's a fantastic fight to not necessarily learn from, but if you're going to improve and you're going to keep progressing, these are the kind of fights that are going to make you a better fighter.
Sure.
Because you've got to mix it with all styles that you're doing. And it pisses me off, to be honest with you, that he's not sometimes getting the credit, and I think that's because he has so much adulation from casual fans that hardcore fans rebel against it. It's almost like, oh, AJ, 80,000 at Wembley. Oh, they've never even been to a show. Oh, it's like, okay, but we're not fighting bums. We're not doing what my dad did with Chris Eubank or others did with others in the past, which is just turn up, sell the tickets, fight someone easy, and move on to the next show. He's fighting credible top 10 Ring Magazine guys every single time.
But I think the expectations, as you say, Eddie, of the fans now is much higher, I think, than probably what it was in your dad's day.
It is, and that's all. Like he sometimes said to me, "I'd hate to be promoted now." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "I used to do a show and go, that was the bollocks, and just drive home, right? Get a bagel or something. Now you do a show, you go, that was the bollocks, and you go on social media, it's like, that was shit." So it's a difficult one, but it's a new age, and without the fans wanting things now, we'd all get lazy anyway. So we're only trying to prove fans wrong or give them what they want or beat the competition. And there's never been a better time for boxing. I mean, Spence knows, he's a former fighter. He'd give his left leg to be fighting now in this era.
He would.
I mean, because it's unbelievable. The money, the profile, the amount of broadcasters behind the sport, the fan bases, everything's brilliant.
I think you're right. I think it's never been healthier, is it?
No,
it definitely is. Listen, Eddie, you touched on something earlier. You said about the politics of boxing. Now, Dillian Whyte, who performed superbly last time out, beating Joseph Parker, WBC number 1 ranked, holds a WBC silver belt. Why ain't he got his shot? People want to know this at Deontay Wilder. I mean, what's going on, mate?
So this is again what you have to deal with in boxing, and I do. This won't go down very well, but sometimes I do feel a little bit sorry for the governing bodies because they've got all these promoters that are obviously giving them money in sanction fees, putting on shows. So they're trying to sort of give him an opportunity or put him in an eliminator or he gets a silver belt or it's a juggling act. So what happened was Dominic Breazeale was supposed to fight Bremain Stavern, who was number 1, right? Now, what happened was Bremain Stavern pulled out of the fight. That fight was a final eliminator, right? I think Breazeale was about number 4 or 5. So rather than the WBC going like final eliminator off, they allowed Breazeale to fight Molina, right, who was like number 11.
Wow.
But they said it'll still be a final eliminator, but it can't be for Molina, only for Breazeale. Breazeale goes and wins. But when they announced this, I kicked up a fuss, so did the media, and the WBC came out and said, no, it's not a final eliminator. But they'd already confirmed it to Breazeale in writing, right? Breazeale wins the fight, he turns out, he says, I'm mandatory. And the WBC says, oh, no, hang on a minute. He said, no, I've got it in writing here, right? In the meantime, Dillian Whyte gets the number 1 in the rankings. We fight for the silver belt against Robert Helenius. He defends it against Lucas Brown. He defends it again against Joseph Parker. And we're saying, hold on, we're the mandatory. So then they order Dominic Breazeale as the mandatory to Wilder, and then say Ortiz against Dillian Whyte for the second mandatory, which will be in about 2 years' time. So we're saying, look, we're not fighting Luis Ortiz for a mandatory that's going to take 2 years. So we kicked up a fuss. It's all up in the air, and it's frustrating, But the WBC need to at least call a mandatory. But Dillian may end up fighting Brazil in the final elimination. So it sounds he'll fight.
Basically,
he'll fight anyone.
Yeah,
Dillian will fight anyone.
I know he will. That's why you got to take your hat off to him. He's just like
now. He looks like the cast iron favourite to fight AJ if he gets through Povetkin, because we've sent out the contract to Deontay Wilder. We sent them another email actually 2 days ago saying, guys, we've sent you a signed contract. Any chance of reply, or even what you don't like about this deal, so we can try and get it done? And obviously they've got their hands full trying to close the Fury fight, but part of me wants to give Dillian Whyte the fight with AJ.
I think he deserves
it. Because it's like, you deal with all these guys who are messing around. With Dillian, you sit down in a room with him, you sort out the money, and it's on. Right? And he deserves it. He's been through the guys. He beat Helenius, beat Chisora. I think we'll see Chisora Whyte in the meantime, whilst we wait for April. And again, that's a risky fight for Dillian if he's got AJ on the other end. But he don't care. He just loves to fight, and he wants the Chisora fight again, because the first one was a classic.
When would that be penciled in for, Ed? December,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Right, brilliant.
I think what Chisora did last time out against Takan. I mean, listen, Derek well.
Yeah.
He is just a phenomenon.
He's teak tough. That's what he is, Derek.
I mean, he went out and he boxed in Monaco against Kiyabel for the European title. He was absolutely dreadful.
Terrible.
And I watched it and I thought, you're done. You are done.
Yeah.
And he came back with an easy win. And I thought, he said, just get me another fight. I thought, who can we make that's exciting, that's an interesting fight? Carlos Takan. Perfect. Great fight. But I never knew what we'd get from Derek, And actually, Takan boxed a terrible fight because he had a war with him and he fought him on the ropes. He should have just boxed him. Derek's legs aren't quite what they were. But if you stand on the ropes and trade with him, he's just so tough. That was one of the best fights I've ever seen. And to see him win, and his face when he sort of looked at the crowd after, my God, I've won. And you love me.
Yeah.
He sort of spun his personality around from villain to hero, really. And he's a very, very, you talk about the sport of boxing, how hard it is. Mate, Chisora is a tough bastard.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, I was watching those two on the inside, just belting each other, round the body, round their head.
Yeah, Takan is a unit.
Well, I've got to tell you,
his legs are like fucking
I
so
thought
thick,
that Takan was going to do Derek. After 4 or 5 rounds, I thought Derek's not going to come back here because he was sitting on the ropes too long, and I thought there's only so much you can keep going to the well and keep going through it. And Derek's spent a career doing it. But then he just fucking turned it around, didn't he? It was incredible.
I kept watching Takan go back to the corner 1 or 2 rounds before it finished. I'm thinking, you know what? It was a pace. It's a little bit here, but now I looked at Chisora, I thought he's finished and all. So it was it was just a really special, But what it shows is that everyone would love to see Takan fight again. Everyone would like to see Joseph Parker fight again, and they both lost.
Yeah.
So if you're in great fights, then it's not always the end of the world.
Well, I think that's why Derek Chisora's lost. What's he? 129, lost 8. But everyone that he's lost, it's been so fucking dramatic. It's so, do you know what I mean? So exciting. You can keep bringing him back.
Yeah.
But he's a live wire. You never know. It's just where we think. I think one of the reasons that the Monaco fight went like that is because it's a casino and there's 400 people in there in black tie.
Yeah.
But when he goes into the O2 and he feels that energy and he sort of looks around as if to say, right, let's go. Let's have it.
Well, he didn't have Don in his corner as well, did he, in Monaco, for whatever reason?
I think knowing Derek, Derek's one of these guys, this is the way that he thinks, right? So he thinks if there's 400 people in the room and he's boxing on Sky TV, he thinks there's just 400 people watching him. So that's what he's like. If there's fucking 80,000 there, the guy is going to perform because he thinks, I've got all these people watching me. He's like, that's how he thinks. Do you know what I mean? He's nuts, but he is banging.
Listen, Eddie, if Chisora beat Whyte in December, if they fought, would he be in line then to fight AJ?
It's tough. Someone said that to me. My gut feeling is no. Because I just don't see that. I don't know whether it's style-wise or what, but it's definitely not a fight that's in my mind. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's a fight that's in Derek's mind either. I mean, they're quite pally. They both come out Finchley. But I don't know, with Derek, anything's possible, isn't it? I mean, I think that the Dillian Whyte Chisora 2 fight would be an absolute. I think they'd leave off from where they left off last time.
I think so. Yeah.
No
another
one's going to try and box
It's funny. I've spoke to Derek as well about it, and I think he's said it publicly. And I've spoke to AJ about it as well. And because they're both from the same amateur club, grown up together, I think they've both been heard saying that they wouldn't fight each other. I mean, obviously, money speaks, but
fight. I think at this stage, I don't see it as a fight. Ironically, Chisora had a much more clinical and earlier finish of Takam than AJ did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just think style-wise and age-wise and, I don't know, right now, it's not. I mean, listen, if you went out and flattened Dillian Whyte in a couple of rounds, started calling for it, it's whatever the public thinks. I think if you put that fight out now, people say, no, look, we love Derek, but no. And I think people saying, you know what, this is, and you know every time Dillian against AJ is going to be a cracker. Because of the history and because the emotion of the fight, and it's an all British heavyweight world title. So
Eddie, you just keep cutting out a little bit. I don't know if you hold your phone away or
I'll move a little bit. I'm in the garden.
All right, no worries. Listen, Eddie, we can't have you on the show, mate, without asking you about AJ Wilder. What's the latest, mate?
Nothing really. We did a deal with them some months ago, and we put it in a contract, and we didn't hear back from them. And then when we had the letter from the WBA to say, look, we need to know what's happening, we made the Povetkin fight, but we changed the date in the contract to April the 13th, and we signed the contract and said, look, here's the terms that you agreed. The contract is signed. We want to do it in April. They come back and said, no, you've missed the boat now. It's got to be 50-50, which was weird. So that was it, really. And then the Fury fights kicked off. And like I said, last week, we went back and said, look, we've got to make a move after the Povetkin fight in terms of what we're doing because of governing bodies. Can we make this an April fight? We've sent you a contract with everything you agreed. If you don't agree with certain things now all of a sudden, please tell us and we can try and negotiate the fight because you need to sort of be a couple of steps ahead because soon in October there'll be a mandatory or someone will be a mandatory and we won't be able to make a different kind of fight. And we'll be in the same position we were with Povetkin where we run out of time. So, I think that the move for Fury, and listen, maybe Fury or Wilder. I mean, I saw Frank Warren come out and say that he was behind the offer with Shelley Finkel to AJ for the 50 million, which is worrying itself. And, BT were behind it. And obviously AJ's got an exclusive deal with Sky. So that could never have happened anyway. So maybe the Wilder fight against Fury was always a plan. And if that fight goes off, then it's great for AJ. It's great for boxing. And we'd love the winner for all the belts.
How do you see that fight going, Eddie?
Well, I'm still not 100% convinced it'll happen. I mean, I think that it's gone on so long now. But it was announced it was on, 4 weeks ago, and we've heard no news since. I think they'll try and do, knowing the people involved, they'll try and announce it on AJ Povetkin fight week for a little bit of sort of bitterness. But whether they actually get into the ring or not, I don't know. Right now, I think if they're talking about even money for this fight with the bookmakers, you better put your mortgage on Deontay Wilder in this fight right now. Right now. If Fury was firing on all cylinders, Klitschko style, personally, I still think he loses. But I think he has a chance of being just about sharp enough to cause Wilder some problems.
Yeah, but he has to be on that form. I said exactly the same thing to Spencer. He's got to fight how he fought against Klitschko. He's got to be in that form, hasn't he?
He hasn't got the confidence. He hasn't got the speed. He hasn't got the timing. And this right now thinks of a cash-out fight. So, I'm sure he's convinced himself he can win. But Tyson's bright. He's not an idiot. People think he's an idiot. He's not. He knows boxing. And he knows, as does everybody in boxing, because they're all saying the same thing, he is a million miles off being ready to fight Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, but, I agree with you, mate.
From my point of view, I want him to fight Wilder because he gets beat and it makes that 50 million for the AJ fight. You better times that by 4. And by the way, it'll improve Deontay Wilder's deal as well. So this is great business for Deontay Wilder. Unfortunately, they're using Fury to improve everybody's position. So I hope he's getting. I mean, if they've offered AJ 50 million. How much they offer in Tyson? I mean, it must be a lot of money for him to accept, but who knows with Tyson? Who knows?
Yeah,
I
watch
always
the space,
say it's not happening because when I was talking to him to work with him, he said he wanted 4 fights of the fights he's having now.
Yeah.
And then he wants, like, he's talking Manuel Char after 4 fights. So how can you go Sefer Seferi and Pizza Netta and then Wilder?
Eddie, if that had happened and you were looking after Fury, would you advise him to take the Wilder fight at the moment?
No, I would say, but the thing is those fights are always there for Tyson Fury, right? He could fight AJ. No, I mean, he could fight AJ next April. If the Wilder fight don't happen, he'd get much more money to fight AJ than he would do to fight Wilder. But and if he just keeps winning, those fights are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it doesn't make any sense to take it now. That's why something don't smell right about it. Maybe he's just decided, listen,
all
can't
in.
be asked this anymore. Let's just go for it.
Going to cash out.
What we said earlier, if I lose, but I lose well, I could fight Joshua. If he gets ironed out against Wilder, the Joshua fight's dead. So I don't know. I don't see the need for it unless you've decided, let's just roll the dice, because you can't beat Wilder at the moment. And to see the odds of even money, man, right now in America for that fight, I mean, you know, Wilder's erratic, but he is very hard, and you can't be sitting on the ropes if you haven't got the confidence and speed and timing, doing all this bobbing and like. I mean, I'm not saying he'll do it the same way as he did against Pianetta, but he's going to get caught.
He wouldn't get away with it. He'll
definitely get clips at some point, wouldn't he?
But it's a great fight. And listen, genuinely, people were saying, how gutted are you that Wilder Fury? No. I'm absolutely over the moon. So I actually hope it does. He's got a fight anyway, Wilder. So obviously I want him to have the fight that's going to make the AJ one even bigger. It's just frustrating when they don't want to talk about the fight. You know, even when I was in New York, when they made the offer, I said, let's have a meeting. No, we can't have a meeting until you accept the offer. I said, well, we don't know about the offer. You just got an email from Deontay Wilder saying, here's 50 million, take the fight. So it's tough because,
I mean, you do call his manager Shirley Winkle, didn't you?
Shirley Winkle,
Shirley
probably weren't the best idea.
It probably made negotiations a little bit more difficult.
A bit frosty,
in hindsight, looking back, you're probably right. But it seemed like a good idea. But I just think that, you know, I'm a little bit in boxing. Right? It's, trust me, the worst business you can operate in, right? And people who have been in the sport for so long. Not because they're bad people, but it sends you so bitter and twisted, right? Not because, like I said, not because you're a bad person. It's just the sport. It's just the business. It does it to you. It makes you paranoid. It makes you hate people. It makes you look over. Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, it's such an erratic business, isn't it? I can't imagine what your life's like, Eddie, to be fair.
Makes you look over your shoulder.
No, you know, but because I'm 6 or 7 years in, I still see it as a buzz. I could call that guy Shirley Winkle, and then I could go and have lunch with him the next day.
Yeah, sure.
And I wouldn't even think, oh, I've just called it. Like, for me, it's all fun and games.
Yeah, of course.
But he'll look at me and say, look at you little silver spoon horrible British kid, right? And that's what a lot of people probably view me as. Like, if I was an American promoter, and now they see me coming over there, I'd just be thinking, look at this little horrible kid. Like, what are you doing? Like, but that's where we're at, you know?
Yeah, but you've got the experience of your dad coming through, and obviously he's got years of experience. You can always lean on him, can't you? And look at ways to.
I always do.
Eddie, I remember when I was boxing actually, and you was probably about 8, I think, something like that. And I always remember looking at you, and I think I had the conversation with Jess Harding, who's really good mates with your dad. And Jess said to me, he'll take the throne one day. I think he was like 8 and Eddie had a suit on and all that. And it was like, you knew he was going to be a promoter.
But I grew up, you know, because you were around.
Yeah.
People think that I've just sort of popped up in boxing like the last 5 years.
Yeah.
The only way I could spend time with my dad when I was growing up was to go to the shows and be in the gyms. And I've been in the gym since I was 8 or 9 years old. Just not trying to learn the game, but just being around it.
Yeah, sure.
Is that what you learned did you learn to negotiate from your dad, Eddie?
I don't know. I mean, with my background, I shouldn't really be, not sounding like brash, but as good as I am at that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I went to public school, private school, and, you know, like my dad always takes the piss out of me. You're a silver spoon kid, and, you know, but the one thing that I have got is his working class mentality, which he's drummed into me at a young age. I won't be outworked, and I won't be out hustled. So, and just being around him, watching him. I mean, I remember being in Hong Kong when Herbie Hyde was fighting Tommy Morrison. I was probably 14, and the people from Hong Kong didn't pay the money for the show, and my dad canned the show at the weigh-in. and he had to send everybody home, and it was like a full-blown riot. And I was like in the middle of it, and I guess subconsciously you take it all in and not listening, but it goes in. And I don't know, like boxing, I saw when I was growing up, my dad had a terrible temper when he was working in boxing, and he was fucking miserable. But he's just like me. You love it. It's a drug. You can't, you can't live without it. And eventually, boxing come to a state where he made a decision. He said, you know what, we're going to stay in, but I'm going to move my attention to darts and snooker again, because it was just a deviation that made sense for our business. But he can't, you can't take it out of him. Like, he's coming on Saturday, not to watch Amir Khan, but to watch Sam Eggington.
Yeah, of course.
Because he's his favourite fighter.
Yeah.
You know, and he went to watch him at a small hall show at Villa Park 6 weeks ago, drove up there, drove home on a Saturday night. He loves it. And I always say to him, when we're at the darts, you guys go, and there's 8,000 and they'll go, he goes, look at this. I go, it's not boxing, is it, Dad? And he goes, no, it's not. Nothing will ever beat the boxing. And it won't. And I'm sort of living through him now, and he's watching me sort of take all these people on that he took on 20 years ago. And he's sort of sitting back going, go on, son. But we'll speak every night, and I'll ask him every question I can to get his knowledge, because, you can't... you can't
buy that, can you? That experience.
No, you know what? Your old man is a genius, so at reviving sports, isn't he? I mean, he's done it with a snooker, he's done it with a darts. I mean, they were dying sports, man, and he's just sort of span them around, and he even done it with a boxing back when he come back with Nazim Hamid and all that, and he turned it around then as well. I mean, what's the secret behind that? I mean,
I think he's a showman. I think as well, they're working class sports. So again, you go back to what I try and do is I try and create a night that selfishly I would like, or my mates would like, or you guys would like, right? And that's a big market. The game's changing so much. He couldn't promote in the same way now that I can, because he's out of touch with, one, the market, and two, social media, the digital space. But then you go into the new wave of stuff, which is obviously, Spenny, you were just involved with KSI and Logan Paul. That's like the next level of stuff, of which I'm like an old git compared to that. I'm like my dad.
Yeah, that's a whole new generation.
But you have to keep. I mean, that's not quite hit the boxing audience yet, but that could be the future for everybody, not just for boxing, but for sport and for technology and for content. And you have to keep evolving. But my old man's just got this way where when he talks, people listen. You know, like you could sit around a table and he would just, and I listen to him sometimes, think, you are talking absolute bollocks. I've heard this story a million times. It's not even true. But people will sit there and they will listen. And, he has a great credibility amongst broadcasters particularly and sponsors of getting things right. And he is, honestly, like, he's 70 years old. He works harder now than he's ever worked. He's up at the crack of sparrows. His energy is something that I've never, ever seen from anyone. And it does my head in at times. But he just says, like, I will not be outworked. And that's really our mentality.
Yes.
And that's the same mentality as a fighter, really. I mean, you've got to have the ability, but you can't, if you've got the mentality that you won't be outworked in any form of what you do, for you doing what you do when you were fighting, Spence, and so forth, the harder you work, the more successful you're going to be.
Yeah, I think that single-minded mentality definitely helps, doesn't it, in all areas?
Yeah. Listen, Tony Bellew, Usyk, is it on? Is it off? What's going on?
It's close. I mean, Tony's one of my best mates, right? Forget boxing, but in life. And what he has achieved, I am so proud of him, and I'm so proud of what he's achieved, not just in boxing, but for his life. When I took him on, like, we were laughing the other night, where he was saying, I got 15 grand, and to get up off the floor twice against Oval Mackenzie to win the British and Commonwealth title, right? Yeah. And I said, yeah, but mate, that's what's made you what you are. And when I see him go and have these David Haye fights, and I see him, and it's not, I'm talking about houses and mortgages and things like that. It's not that it's something that I want him to show off to the world, but for him to go through the gears of life and be able to put his kids through a brilliant education, to have the house he always dreamed of, to be so content with his life, that's worth more than anything. So when I see him have those hay fights and all of a sudden his life changes so much, we can look back on those nights and say, fucking hell, do you remember when you went and fought Adonis Stevenson in Quebec and you had to make 12 stone 7
I know, mad
to fight this geezer, and you're now 15 stone 3 on the scales, right? So he's achieved everything. And then the Usyk fight comes along, and I have to say, before the hay fight, I thought to myself, please don't bite for the Usyk fight, Tony, because that is a brutal fight. You know, that is just Hay's hay, and he's dangerous, but he's a bit old, and you know, maybe he might break down, and maybe he's not what he was. But don't fight the undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world, who's 16 fights in and looks like pound for pound 1 or 2 in the sport of boxing. And then Usyk called him out after the World Boxing Super Series, and Bellew phoned me straight up, and he said, "Get me Usyk."
Yeah. Oh, you got to love Tony Bellew. Do you know what? I love the bloke. I honestly do.
I know. But then I started looking at it, and I spoke to Rob McCracken about it. You know, people I really trust in the sport, and he sort of said, "Ed, don't write Tony off." This is McCracken, you know. He said, "I tell you, he's one of the most underrated fighters in the world." He said he's experienced, he's smart, he can punch like fuck.
Yeah.
He said, "Don't rule him out."
Yeah, never bet against him.
Then I was with Billy Joe last week at the Andrade press conference. He goes, "I'm having all my money on Bellew to win this fight."
He knows he's betting Billy and all. He fucking gets it right all the time.
But it is just, you know, if it gets over the line, and it's close, but we've got a few things to sort out. It's fight of the year. It's one of the fight of the year, and it's just, if Tony Bellew can become the undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world, the Ring Magazine belt champion, and probably pound for pound 1, 2 in the sport of boxing, it might be worth doing just to see the look on people's faces.
Yeah,
because you know it's an unbelievable fight. And
it'll be a great story, wouldn't it, if you come through that and won that.
But from the fans' point of view, from a promoter's point of view, I'm desperate for the fight to happen.
Yeah.
Listen,
as his mate, I'm like,
listen, there's a great example of the relationship between you, Eddie. We tweeted out on the Pound for Pound Twitter this week that we were so pleased to announce that this week's guest will be the one and only Eddie Hearn. And we said, we're going to open this up to you guys. What would your question to him be? Now, the first person to tweet us was Tony Bellew. Tony wrote, "Tell Jerry to give Rod a call as he wants to know where the money's at." And you tweeted back, "Ambassador of Kwan."
We have
Which I had to let Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire, and he's my Rod Tidwell. Because he was like, you know, he was the one where it was like, oh, God, I've got Tony Bellew. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, my God, I've got Rod Tidwell. So it's like, it's just, he's one of the nicest men you will ever, he would do anything for you.
I second that, mate.
Such a lovely family man, honestly. And it's just, and he's a great fighter. He's so smart. He's a smart pundit. He's an analyst. He's a boxing brain, and he just finds a way. And honestly, the more I look at this fight, and you might call me mad, the more I think he's going to knock him out.
Yeah.
And listen, maybe I'm just nuts. Maybe I've got my Bellew blinders on, but I don't know. I've just got this.
Do you know what? I would never go against Tony Bellew again, no matter who he fights in the world. The one reason I would never do that is I went against him in the first David Haye fight, like 99% of the other people that were around, whether they were boxing pundits, analysts, or just a casual fan. And he fucking proved us wrong. And I said, I'm never going to go against him again. So I went with him, and look what he done to Haye next time.
Yeah, I mean, the first fight, obviously, Haye got injured, but he saw through the 5 rounds. But the second fight was more impressive because Haye, of course, he weren't what he was, but he was a lot more tuned up for that second fight than he was for the first fight, and Tony battered him. And the difference in the two fights was Tony hurt him in that second fight.
Yeah.
In the first fight, he threw a lot of shots, and David was riding him on the ropes because he was injured, and it was hard to nail him clean. In the second fight, Haye was trading, but you could tell he was hit by shots that were taking him off his feet.
Yeah.
And Tony just thinks that he's going to box with Usyk for 5 or 6 rounds, and he's going to knock him out down the stretch. So, again, we'll see. I think within a week, we'll know if that fight's happening. It is close, but But again, like, where are these fights all coming from?
Yeah, that'd be a really exciting fight, Eddie. That'd be
brilliant.
Where would that happen? Where would that venue?
Well,
for
we're
that
talking about London or Manchester. I mean, there's only really two venues, obviously O2 and Manchester Arena, that can hold that size of fight. So one of the problems is, like I said earlier, boxing is so competitive at the moment in terms of promotions and big fights getting made that the venues are sometimes the tougher things to nail down.
Yeah.
Listen, Eddie, I know a lot of people complain about these pay-per-views and everything else, but I mean, I know the situation. For these fights to happen, really, they've got to be on pay-per-view because of the money that the fighters warrant. Is that right?
It is. It's more about what the fighters want and how much the broadcasters are prepared to pay. And the big problem is there's a lack of rights fees for super fights. So Sky, like Amir Khan, for example, this weekend, right? I know I'm not going to get any violins, but we're going to lose a nice few quid on Saturday because it's not pay-per-view. Amir Khan wants a bloody lot of money to fight, as he should. He's, he's achieved a lot in the sport. And there's only so much money a broadcaster is prepared to pay. Now, Sky pay very, very well. But to pay the 7 figures to both fighters and to put on the cards that you see on pay-per-view, unless you wanted to lose 3 million quid, 4 million quid in a night, which is not particularly fond of, it has to be pay-per-view. But we do have a problem. You know, there is a massive saturation now of pay-per-views, and it's not, you know, I don't think it's going to change. I think that it's just how it's going to be. And I don't think it's great for the sport, to be honest, in some respects. But other respects, we are seeing great fights, and we are seeing fighters earn a lot of money. Again, the fans don't really care what the fighters earn, but our job is to make sure, for the risk these guys are taking, that they get paid very, very well. And when they leave the sport, you know, they're protected and they've achieved something. So, but I think when you look at it, you know, you've got Canelo Golovkin is a UK pay-per-view. Then you've got AJ Povetkin's UK pay-per-view. The week after, you've got Grove Smith on a Friday night from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia pay-per-view.
Frampton Warrington, that'll be pay-per-view.
Frampton Warrington,
Fury
Bellew,
Wilder, if that
Usyk,
happens. Yeah.
You know, I mean, Chisora White. I mean, you know, it's so that's why, from our point of view, Matchroom has got to stand out on the pay-per-view offering, not just with the main event, but the card as well. And that was one of the most pleasing things about July 28th, White Parker, was, you know, we've got a lot of people saying, oh, you know, that's not really a pay-per-view. And we put a card together that at the end of the night, everyone went, that was one of the best nights of boxing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's, as a promoter, nothing makes you feel better than that, because you know everybody in that arena, everybody that bought it on TV said, I got my money's worth.
Yeah, well, they'll come back, Eddie, as well, won't they?
Exactly.
They'll come back and pay for the next show because they know that.
I don't know where it ends, Jake. You know, I don't know what happens. What does it turn into? 2 pay-per-views a month? You know, and then all of a sudden, does the price come down? Does, I don't know, it's very, and then you've got, you know, like I said, with the YouTube stuff last week, probably other people thinking that's a potential outlet. But it's not, because you need a promotional machine behind it, and that promotional machine was Logan Paul and KSI.
Yeah,
it's not like you can just use the platform, jump on and go, oh, we'll do it on there and expect to do 1 million buys. It doesn't work like that. So, you know, there's more and more people looking at pay-per-view. BT are now looking at pay-per-view and saying, oh, this is a way to make our money. ITV, I don't agree with their strategy at all, which was Cox against Groves pay-per-view, Smith against the Holzen pay-per-view, you know, Usyk against Cassius, whilst being a great fight, not a pay-per-view fight in the UK. You know, Eubank against Yildirim pay-per-view. It's not. I really feel like pay-per-view. It's not just a case of whatever people think about us and Sky and the strategy. It's really, the strategy is really not, oh, just sling it on pay-per-view. It's definitely a be careful.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to do 1 or 2 too many here. And every time I go to Sky and Barney Francis, I say, look, this is my proposal. He's come back before and gone, no, it needs to be stronger. And I might say, okay, then we'll add this fight or we'll add that fight. So they're very conscious as well, because don't forget, all these broadcasters, not only are they charging you for pay-per-view, they're also charging you a monthly subscription. So it's the only sport that you have to pay on top of your subscription. You know, you don't have to suddenly pay a tenner for Man United Liverpool on a Sunday, do you? So, but it's just because the rights fees for boxing isn't big enough. In America, by the way, it's a different story. You know, without the zone deal, the rights fees are big enough where I can make Andrade Saunders and Tennyson against Farmer, and Katie Taylor against Serrano, and Kid Galahad, and Scott Quigg, and Tommy Coyle, all on one show. So it's a lot easier in America, but unfortunately, that market doesn't translate to the UK.
Yeah, two different markets. Eddie, just quickly, we got a few questions. As we mentioned earlier, we put a shout out on Twitter for people to get questions. I don't know whether you've seen them or not. Are you all right to answer just a couple of those quickly?
Yeah, fire away.
Paul Gimenez is asking, what was your greatest night as a promoter?
I get asked this quite a lot. It's like, and
I think I know this answer.
There's so many. I mean, when it started off, when Darren Barker beat Daniel Gill,
that's what Spencer said
in Atlantic City, it was like that was my first big one, and I just thought, this will never.
That's the last time I saw you cry, mate.
I know. Well, I cried a few. Then Kell Brook beat Sean Porter in LA. That was up there, and then Carl Froch, or a little bit before that, Carl Froch beat Lucien Bute, and I ran in the ring a little bit.
Yeah, I was there that night. Eddie. That was a great atmosphere, wasn't it?
That was something very, very special. Then Anthony Crolla, after getting robbed against Darlis Perez, knocked him out for the world title in Manchester. That was up there. Then Joshua beats Klitschko in just one of the great fights of all time at Wembley, and obviously Froch knocks out Groves at Wembley in a rematch. As it goes, Groves against Froch 1 was one of the best fights I've ever seen in Manchester. I mean, that was, although it ended badly from a publicity point of view, that was still a great fight. But probably, I have to say, Bellew Makabu at Goodison Park.
Wow, because that was unreal.
Just like, he battered him for the first round, then got dropped, didn't he, in the last 10 seconds. It's like, no one would look at each other on that front row that I was sitting up as he went back to the corner, as if to say, this guy is a beast. And then
I remember Dave Caldwell in the corner, wasn't he? Fucking screaming at him. What the fuck are you doing, man?
He done a somersault.
I know, fuck.
It was unreal.
And then it was a bank holiday Sunday. And then just to do it at Goodison Park, where he's been going all his life, it was. And then his son was in the ring after, and then Bill Kenwright got in there. It was. You just can't beat it. They're the nights.
You've had some amazing nights, mate. You really have.
No one can take those away from you, It's things you look back on when you're done. Who knows how long I'll be in boxing? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to do this forever because it's not. It isn't great.
Yeah.
But when you look at those nights, you look at those pictures, and you just think.
I was going to ask you that, Eddie. I did write down on my notes. Where will you be in 5 years? Do you think?
I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not going to get any violins, but it's not. I've got 2 daughters. I look at my schedule from next Saturday, and basically, I don't think there's a Saturday that I'm not working at a show till December the 29th.
Wow.
So, but again,
it's a big commitment, isn't it?
I'm so lucky to be doing what I do, so I can't moan at the same time. But it's just, I think sometimes in your life you always have to evaluate at what point do you say, now I've got to enjoy the important thing.
I think you're right, Eddie. I've got 2 kids as well, and it's always trying to, as a dad or a parent, you're always trying to find that balance, aren't you? And I think those things are really important, aren't they? Because they're not little for long. Really,
but the problem is when you're so driven, and like our Matchroom is our life. Me, my dad, our family. That's why we're so tough to beat. It's that it's not like we're just working for some corporate organisation that we're on the board of. It's
your whole life, isn't it?
And we're so passionate about it, we won't be beaten. And it's like, but you still got to get the medium right between saying, no, sorry, darling, you're going to have to wait because this is business and this is important. But to be successful at the same time, you have to be single-minded. Absolutely, and you have to have that drive and commitment and lifestyle that is a bit unique and is a bit shit at times, because that's what you've got to do to get there. So I'm always looking for the balance. And, the moment it starts becoming, we've just done a 16-fight deal with DAZN. So this year, we're going to be doing 36 shows a year.
Wow.
So, but it's groundbreaking, but at the same time, you sort of do the deal and then you get fuck.
What the fuck we done?
I know. And I'm going through the dates for the missus in the lounge the other day, and she's going, right, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, Chicago, Boston. But again, you can't moan because
can I have your air miles, Eddie?
I know, but you can't really have that conversation, and then people are going, "Oh, I feel so sorry for you."
Yeah. Well, listen,
be doing what we do.
Eddie, that leads on nicely to our second one. Joel on Twitter says, "How do you decide what boxers you want to join Matchroom, and what's the process?"
I think from a sort of a young fighter, I mean, we probably get, I don't know, a dozen, now with America, 24 fighters a week come on. And, look, there's a fighter which I didn't sign that asked a dozen times, and it turned out to be Lewis Britson. And now I've got him, thank the Lord. But I turned him down approaches from his managers and trainers at the time because you just can't take everybody on.
Yeah,
so
sure.
from a young fighter's perspective, we really look for amateur achievements. A lot of these kids, the real good quality ones, are going to get on the GB squad. They're going to get in the major tournaments. They're going to box WSB, World Champs, possibly Olympic Games. But not every great fighter goes through that process. Carl Froch didn't make it to that level, and others didn't as well. So, and then, the other times, there'll just be someone who just sort of catches my eye and just makes me think, I want to do something with you. And, I mean, a good example of that is Dave Allen. He boxed Luis Ortiz, and I just thought, so we tried to help him out, and he messed up a little bit along the way, and then he comes out on the Dillian Whyte card, knocks out Nick Webb, and he's bought himself a house, and I've told him he's got to get another one, and now he's boxing in Newcastle, and so loads of different things, really. Obviously, we want quality, but a fighter with personality and someone that engages with the fans is equally as important as well. So, from a young perspective, I think the answer is really a good amateur pedigree and someone that's been able to travel well and compete under pressure and ultimately win ABAs and European and World Champs and Olympics too, hopefully.
Just along those lines, Eddie, as well, Danny Wilson has asked, what's your favourite current non-Matchroom boxer to watch fight?
I like Josh Taylor. I like Billy Joe Saunders. I think Daniel Dubois is a talent. I think probably Josh Taylor. Billy Joe when he's firing. I mean, I can't wait for the Andrade fight. He's a brilliant fighter, and I think someone asked me the question the other day: if you could sign anyone that wasn't with Matchroom in the UK, who would that be? And I think when you look at the marketplace, you'd probably say Dubois. Because we don't know how good he is, but he's a hard-punching heavyweight in a division that's red hot right now. So, it could be him. But I do like Josh Taylor a lot, and although he's absolutely bonkers, I do rate Billy Joe very highly.
Right, last one, mate. Matt Knight says, where do you get those turtlenecks from?
Oh, mate. The problem is with me, I've got like a 40 waist and about 37 legs. So it's like you can't go into these designers. So when I find something that I think, and I repeat, I think looks good, I buy about 8 of them in different colours.
I'm the same, Eddie. That's it, done. Jeans, everything. Just give me.
Unfortunately, the turtleneck last winter or early on this year was the one that made the wardrobe.
I thought he was rocking it, mate. I thought it looked good.
Mate.
I don't know where.
Mate. I mean, I'm 39, I'm 40 next year, but I still think I'm young 20s. So every now and again I'll be sort of trousers and no socks with a pair of loafers, and people look at me and just go, what is this geezer doing? So, we'll give it a go.
Yeah, it looks weird, doesn't it? Listen, Eddie, before you go, mate, and it's been a brilliant interview, by the way.
Thanks for your time, Eddie. Really appreciate
it. But we do a question every week to the guy that comes on. Last time the question was who would win out of a peak Muhammad Ali versus a peak Mike Tyson. Well, we've changed that up now, mate.
Okay.
And the question to you, my friend, is what is the king of nuts? What's your favourite nut?
Nuts?
Yeah, nut. What's your favourite nut?
That's a strange question.
A monkey nut, wing nut?
No. The definite is a cashew nut.
Oh, I would say.
Yeah.
That's a good one. What, not pistachio, no? Pistachio?
No. No, do you know what?
Peanut?
This is going to sound a little bit raw, but I do like a pistachio nut in my salad.
You can only pick one nut, Eddie.
I do like a pistachio nut in my salad. I can't believe I said that. But cashew nut.
A cashew nut.
That's the king of nuts,
is it? And again, little honey roasted.
A honey roast. Listen, a honey roast peanut's not bad though, mate.
Brazil nut.
I'm not a peanut
Brazil
fan.
nut.
No, Brazil, not bad.
Walnut.
Not bad. No, walnut.
Hazelnut.
No, not a walnut fan.
We're not going to change you, are we?
No, because my mum, her favourite chocolate is the walnut whip. Do you remember them?
Yeah, I love them.
So I used to nick them and pull the walnut off the top and just eat all the cream.
So you had a problem with walnuts?
Yeah, that's another story.
Oh, listen, mate, you've been an absolute star, Eddie, and I know you're really busy, mate. We appreciate your time, and I've been trying to get this interview for fucking ages. If you look at Eddie's answer, Eddie's text messages, it's like, Eddie, when you coming on? When you come?
The night before, when you're struggling for a guest.
No, don't. This is the way we roll. Believe it or not. But
Sunday, you're like, we ain't got anyone.
Quick, give me
you've been the top of our list for a long time, mate, and so we finally got you. And do you know what? It was brilliant, mate. We really appreciate it, Ed.
No worries, lads.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks very much for your time.
Eddie.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Brilliant. Great interview, man.
Wasn't it? He's just so cool.
Really good. Yeah, I came off the phone to him there just with you and just said, what a lovely guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is. He's a brilliant guy. He's a hard-working guy. And I think he's changed the face of boxing, mate. And so everything's well-deserved. And yeah, just got a lovely little insight there to the real Eddie Hearn. I thought it was great.
And to give us, an hour of his time. That's fucking amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
considering the position he's in and all that. Yeah.
And I did text him saying we only need 20 minutes. I did. I went, we won't be long, mate. We'll only take 20 minutes, but you know we're cheeky. We like to stretch the boundaries.
But not only that. I mean, Eddie can talk, can't he? So.
Well, I knew when I said needed 20 minutes, that would be for Eddie, just the opening one thing that we'd asked him.
Well, we had a whole list of questions, didn't we? And you said to me, no, we won't need those. It'll just
run off.
And I think, eventually he got to everything that we had written down that we wanted to ask him. Amazing.
Brilliant. Really good. Really good.
So now we go to Mr. Kugan Cassius.
Yep, Mr. Coogie Bear.
Who's been a brilliant addition to the show. Gives us the insight, what's going on, and we'll ask him about the boxing coming up Saturday, shall we? Amir Khan and what's going on.
Yeah, let's find out what's happening and what's going on with the undercard.
Coogie Bear!
What's going on?
That was very in sync.
Yeah, we like that, mate. When we're in sync like that.
They were a good band, they were. NSYNC. Was that Justin Timberlake?
Was it?
Timberland.
What's his name?
Timberlake,
yeah.
Timberlake.
Yeah.
Was it Timberlake?
Yeah, Timberland's a shoe.
Timberlake. Come on.
Come on, man.
I don't know any of their songs.
Jesus. Trouser Snake, wasn't it? That's what they called him.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know who called him that. You called him that, maybe.
I'm just saying, mate. I'm putting it out there. Anyway, mate, listen.
Justin Timberland.
Big weekend of boxing coming up.
Is he still hanging on about Timberland?
Yeah, no, I can't believe I got it wrong. It's Timberlake, wasn't it?
Timberlake.
Yeah.
Timberlake.
He's going to be named in shames for that.
He's now married to a woman, Jessica Biel. I worked with her years ago. I did a film with her called The Illusionist.
Is it any good?
I remember you.
It's a great film. It is a good film. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Let's move on.
Are these numbers meant to be on this screen?
Yeah, that was good. I was 17 then, Coop.
Yeah, you look better then as well.
How old was you?
I still get letters asking me to sign photos and all that from that show. It's got such a massive following, isn't it?
What about Super Noodles? You done that and all, didn't you?
Super Noodles, yeah.
How old was you there? You had a full head of hair there.
28.
Was you?
I'm guessing.
No, you looked about 15.
How old am I now?
How old are you now?
46.
46?
Mm.
All right. How old are you, Spencer?
I'm 43.
Oh.
How old are you, Coog?
37.
No, stop messing about, Coog. How old are you?
Come on, if you remember NSYNC, it must be a bit older than that, Coog.
Yeah, I was right. Don't worry about that.
So listen, Kugan, where are you at this week then? We've got the Amir Khan Samuel Vargas fight coming up Saturday night. What's your week looking like?
My week is looking like, pretty much doing that. The Amir, that's going to take up the bulk of the stuff. There's some other stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go and catch up with Frank Warren at some point this week. Lennox Lewis is in town. He's got an evening with on Thursday. I might be going to that. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Just, we're back to normal now. So it's quite, like we said last week, it's like relentless from now onwards. So it's all good.
Cool. Well, listen, Samuel Vargas fighting Amir Khan. Tell us a little bit about Khan's opponent. Is he a threat?
Yeah, listen, we spoke about this last week. He's a step up, obviously, from Phil LaGreco. He's only been beaten 3 times in his career. Twice two of the defeats were to Errol Spence and Danny Garcia. So, I think he lost kind of early on in his career, but since then he's only 2 defeats kind of recent sort of few years have been to, you know, two of the best fighters on the planet. So currently, so yeah, look, it'll provide a test for Khan, but you know, expect Khan to kind of come through it. It's interesting because, like we said last week, that Khan had only kind of boxed that one round or whatever against Phil Greco since the defeat to Canelo. So I'm saying he needs rounds, but if the fight went a few rounds, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing for him here, I don't think.
Yeah, I think he's in the same position Tyson Fury was in, wasn't he? I mean, Fury had to look good beating his last opponent, didn't he? But at the same time, he needs rounds. Yeah, I think you're right, Kugan.
I think that obviously the notable difference there is that, you know, Khan, you know, it's the weight, you know, where sort of Khan, even though he's been inactive, I should imagine that Khan has kind of been in the gym as well, kind of just probably just, you know, hasn't had a fight, but would be just ticking over and kind of keeping himself in a decent physical shape. So, you know, Fury had the problem of losing, you know, that was the first battle for Fury, was to lose the best part of, 9 stone. You know, 8-9 stone. And that was the battle for Fury. You know, then he could concentrate on kind of getting his fitness in and round fitness in. But, you know, that's obviously a difference in there between them two. But, you know, Khan's has been inactive over the last couple of years. But, you know, if it goes a few rounds, which it could do quite easily against Vargas on Saturday, then I don't think necessarily it's a bad thing. I think that looking for a good performance from Amir, though, he'll be wanting to obviously impress. Second fight out with Eddie Hearn, and yeah, looking forward to Birmingham on Saturday night.
Yeah, he had a 3-fight deal, didn't he, Kugan, originally?
Yeah, I think that was the original kind of fight deal that was kind of mentioned around the time he signed. It was a shock when he signed as well, because, you know, the whole Brook Khan thing had gone on for that long, and there was a lot of negative stuff from both camps. I know it's all just part of kind of selling the fight, the eventual fight we hope will happen, but there was a point where I'd never thought that Amir Khan would actually work with Eddie Hearn. And it just goes to show in boxing anything can happen, because when it was announced, it was like, well, you know, Khan's joining up with Hearn. It's like, you know, but this is the final phase of Khan's career.
What do you mean by that, Kugan? Why could you have never seen that happening before?
Listen, I did enough interviews between the two of them myself, let alone all the other stuff they've done, the kind of slagging off and the kind of stuff that IFL TV thrives on, you know, boxers slagging off promoters and promoters coming back with whatever. But I think there was that much, you know, they've spoken about this fight. You know, they've spoken about this fight before. I know that Eddie's spoken to Khan's team previously to them signing with Matchroom. You know, the fight's been discussed, but it's been over the space of about 4 years, you know, 3 or 4 years. And I think that when fights don't get made, it's like blame one or the other, you know. And I think there was a lot of that going on. It was a shock to see Amir Khan join up with Eddie, you know, just through a lot of, if you look back through a lot of the back interviews between the two, talking about the Kell Brook fight, because that's all it's ever been about the Kell Brook fight. There was a lot of like back and forth, but it's all part of it. But Amir's decided that, you know, his kind of last phase of his career, which we're assuming this to be, you know, he's still got fights in him, Amir Khan. He's got big fights in him as well. But, you know, he felt that Matchroom and Eddie were the team for him to kind of take him forward.
Yeah. And do you think the Kell Brook fight is next, Kugan?
I hope so. I genuinely hope so. I mean, I don't know what Fastcar said to you earlier on, but, you know, it kind of makes sense for it to happen. It's just that Kell Brook, obviously, you know, as we said the other day, Kell Brook was meant to fight with Dillian Whyte and didn't fight. So, you know, Kell Brook if he can have another fight before them two. But look, I'd like to see that back end of the year. What a thing to finish off. You know, if that was kind of one of the final fights of 2018. It needs to be now. It definitely needs to be now. I don't really want to see them two fight any other risky fights to kind of jeopardise that, because I think if one of them was to get beat again, then I don't know. I'd like it to see that to be their next big fight, the pair of them.
Do you think that would be pay-per-view, Kugan?
Yeah, I should imagine so. Yeah. And to be honest with you, you know, as I've said, as much as we talk about this fight should have happened by now, and a lot of fights don't happen, you know. And some fights, look at Ricky Hatton and Junior Witter, classic example of a fight that we all wanted to see, and we thought that it would happen. It never did happen, you know. And this situation is always compared to that as well, the Hatton-Witter situation. So, I think it will happen. I'm pretty certain it will happen. I hope it happens at the back end of this year, because 4 years of like back and forth between the two, this is the best time. It couldn't be at a better time for the fight to happen with them both on the Matchroom.
Yeah. But listen, we got a good undercard as well. Sam Egginton's on the bill. Lewis Ritson, possibly the best prospect to emerge this year.
I love Ritson.
Yeah.
Ritson's like...
Who's he fighting on the bill, Coog?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think they're both in kind of little tickovers.
Yeah.
Especially Ritson. Ritson's obviously got that European title fight coming up on October 13th against Francesco Patera. So this is literally, getting Ritson out in an 8-rounder. But what a story of Lewis Ritson. I mean, he's less than a year ago, the guy was thinking about taking a job at a bleach factory. I mean, what has happened to Lewis Ritson since he beat Robbie Barrett last year, and then to go on to get the British title outright in 4 rounds of boxing against Joe Murray, Paul Hyland and Scott Cardle, all disposed of the lot of them in 4 rounds.
3 good fighters as well.
3 very good fighters, and he kind of he's blown them away inside 4 rounds of boxing to win that British title. And this time last year, people didn't really know about Lewis Ritson outside his kind of team, and he'd been fighting on a lot of the smaller shows. Put that performance in against Robbie Barrett, who had beaten Scott Cardle for the British title previously to that. Stopped Robbie Barrett, and then just gone on a mad run since then. How good he is! He's still a bit raw. You can tell, he's still a little bit raw, but he's exciting to watch. He punches very, very hard, and I think he's going to improve as a fighter as well. But he's obviously got the support of the Newcastle crowd. We'll see again on October 13th them turning out for Lewis Ritson, but could be a little like a rough diamond there being unearthed in Lewis Ritson. Is definitely entertaining to watch anyway. How far he can go, who knows?
Yeah, looking forward to that. So that's a good undercard on the Amir Khan bill. Well, we go across the pond. Danny Garcia boxing Sean Porter the same night. That's a great fight, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a great fight. Garcia and Porter. That's on Box Nation this week actually as well. I'm a fan of both fighters. We saw. There was a lot of hype around Sean Porter like 3 or 4 years ago before he fought Kell Brook. And people don't always kind of give Kell Brook the credit for that win as much as really I thought that he deserved. Sean Porter, I remember, was being talked about in like very high accolade as being the next thing. And Brook had no chance in that fight. I remember, and there's no one that can tell me otherwise, that people had written Kell Brook off against the next best thing in Sean Porter. And he went out to Carson, I was out there in LA, put on a very good performance. It was a close fight, and brought on that IBF title. But, Danny Garcia as well. I don't know, I still think we're kind of waiting to see more from Danny Garcia. People have got split opinions about Danny Garcia. It's a great fight, though. It's definitely a great fight between them two. I think we're in for a very good fight, whoever watches that. Yeah,
so for me, it's a real 50-50 fight, that. We're getting a lot of these days, aren't we? These fights are now being put together. All the big fights, the big names are being put together, and I'm looking forward to a big season of boxing starting on Saturday night.
Yeah, a good fight on that card, actually. Just coming back to the Amir Khan deal, was the British title rematch between Wellborn and Tommy Langford.
Yeah.
That's a good fight, actually. Wellborn beating Langford previously. This is the rematch for that. So, so the British title, that'll be an interesting little clash. That will
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Listen, Kugan, what do you know about Sam Egginton as well? Just at the moment, like his development, and what's your opinions on Egginton?
I'm a massive Egginton fan. We know obviously Barry Hearn's a massive Egginton fan. It's like he's kind of his guy at Matchroom, and Sam Egginton is one of them, like, never in a dull fight, and fights with his heart, and just he's a proper warrior, and a proper throwback. He's a warrior, but best way to explain Sam Egginton, complete warrior. But I mean, he was beaten for the European title I think it was in Manchester last year.
That was Mohammed Mimoun.
Yeah. Minimum, yeah, you can pronounce it. But, I mean,
that was a tough fight, wasn't it? He was expected to win that, wasn't he, Eggington? And he really brought it to him, didn't it, Mimoun?
He lost on, I think it was a split decision. But, I mean, previous to that, he looked good form. He'd sort of come off the back of, Frankie Gavin a couple of years ago. Then he beat Paulie Malignaggi. And then I think he had a fight against that Rodriguez guy. And then obviously going into that, he was probably expected to come through that, and it weren't to be his night. But I think since then he's probably put on a couple of wins in there since kind of getting back on in contention. But he's an exciting fighter, Sam Eggington.
Yeah.
It's like, you're never ever going to get a dull fight with him,
Yeah, styles. Stylistically, just like good to watch. Comes forward, non-stop punching. Always in a good fight. Love him.
Yeah.
It should be a good card. Any of you two going to be in Birmingham by any chance?
No, I don't think we will actually. I'm not in Birmingham here.
No, I'm busy this weekend. But no, I'll be watching it.
Yeah, definitely. You'll be up there, Kugan, will you?
Yeah, I'll be up there from either Thursday or Friday. I'll be up there. So
brilliant.
Looking forward to it. Birmingham, like I said, they don't always get kind of their boxing as regularly as, it's a massive fight city, and probably get it as much as, they'd want to. So, looking forward to it. There's a lot of young talent on the bill as well. There's Kez Ashfaq, Gamal Fai's on the bill as well. Scott Fitzgerald, he's on the bill. There's quite a few, like I said, of the up-and-coming ones as well. There's a couple of MTK boys on there as well. Sean McCool and Stephen Donnelly. Watch out for them as well. So.
I always like those shows as well when they bring, it's like next gen shows, isn't it? When they bring the new kids coming through. I always find those fights really exciting.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity for them on a big stage, isn't it?
Yeah, all these kids. I mean, look, they hope of kind of being where the Amir Khans are by headlining these shows. A lot of them are from around that way. Look, everyone's got to start off on these shows and kind of build up before they start headlining, So, it'll be an interesting weekend. And then after that, obviously, it's just relentless. It's 2 shows a week or whatever. It's all going off.
Yeah, it's gonna be mental, mate. Really looking forward to it, and looking forward to catching up with you next week, mate, to tell us what was going on up there, getting all the inside information, and it's been good, mate. I really appreciate giving us this little bit of info.
Definitely. Have a good week, boys.
And you, mate.
You too, Kugan. Have a great week up in Birmingham. We look forward to speaking to you next week, mate.
No problem.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Lovely. Another fantastic episode, I think.
Yeah, it was top notch, mate. Coogie Bear always gives us the inside info. Eddie Hearn was unbelievable, and well pleased with this week.
Beautiful. Pound for Pound is a Boxing with the Stars limited production, created by Ross Siegel, produced by Spencer Oliver, Jake Wood, Ross Siegel, and Alex Siegel. Music by Keith Atag. Graphics by Lolly Edwards. This podcast is hosted by Audioboom and edited by Zach Brown. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Pound Podcast. Tickets still available for our Boxing with the Stars show, which is Friday, October the 12th at the Royal Lancaster Hotel in London. Just email boxingwiththestars@outlook.com. Some exciting announcements about that to be made as well. We've also got a Twitter account at Boxing WT Stars, and we make announcements about who's fighting and all that kind of stuff. But it's going well, isn't it? Yeah,
it's going to be a great night. So, get your tickets. We have all the boxing celebs there. Adam and Johnny come along. They help us out with some commentary that is out loud.
And sorry to interrupt, we have made a pound for pound fight.
The pound for pound title. The pound for pound fight is on the line. And I've
caught you off the hop, haven't I?
You've caught me off the hop.
You get your phone out, find out the names.
So the names are,
because we gave a shout out last week, didn't we? So look, if anyone wants to fight on the card, we've got a space. All right, we can put this together. We can have a pound for pound title. So you'll get to come down to London. The Royal Lancaster Hotel will be a star-studded evening, all in aid of Teens Unite, which is a fantastic charity for teenagers with cancer.
Yeah,
and we've managed to do it.
We have, and Mike Dacey is going to be boxing on there. And this is really weird. I'll tell you the story of this, right? So what happened was we asked people to tweet us if they wanted to box on the show and everything else.
Yeah.
Mike Dacey, who's a big fan of the show, says, "Yeah, I really want to do it." He wanted to box on the show anyway. And then I got another email off a guy asking to do it. I'm trying to find his name now. Wayne, his name is Wayne something. Oh, I've got to find it because it's embarrassing.
Go on.
Hold on.
We'll wait.
Hold on. That's how long much I've been speaking to him. Look.
That's a lot of text.
That's a lot of text, mate.
Well, listen, we can put it on the Twitter, can't we?
Yeah, we'll put it on the Twitter. But Wayne is boxing Mike Dacey, and it is for the Pound for Pound podcast title. Yes! It's our first title on the line for the Boxing.
I'm going to look
Stars.
forward to that. That's going to be quality.
And I've got to tell you something else as well, and I can't mention the name right now, but we have got a really big name boxing on the show as well. The name cannot be disclosed. It will be disclosed by the end of the week. But he is going to be boxing one of you lot, one of the members of the public.
I know what you're talking about.
And this guy,
shit, that is massive.
This guy is huge. He's a former world champion, undefeated, retired undefeated. For 10 years, he held the title.
Undefeated? Was he undefeated?
No, he was undefeated as a champion.
Oh, that's right.
As a champion.
Yes.
He held it for 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disclose any more information, but you guys have got the chance to box him.
He is going to fight an exhibition fight on the night, isn't he, to the highest bidder.
Yes. So basically, get your bids in if you want to fight this guy. We will have the account set up very shortly. By the time the name's announced...
Well, maybe we could announce it next week or something like that.
Yeah, we'll announce it next week, and then we'll tell you how you go about bidding to fight this guy in an exhibition in one of what's going to be the best boxing events of the year.
Yeah! So listen, tickets are still available at boxingwiththestars@outlook.com. Listen, thanks for listening. No doubt we'll have another fantastic guest next week. We've been through the list and we've got some amazing people lined up. We love doing this show. And yeah, just thanks for the support. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.